the breads, line them up. Focaccia, my favourite. It's a bellissimo. Is that cultural appropriation? Hey everybody, it's James at Amused Bouche. I've done a fair bit of sweet stuff recently, so I think we're going to take a break. We're back on bread, and we are doing focaccia. Focaccia is my favourite bread. Out of all the breads, basically what you've got is almost like a tray bake of bread. Your dough's going to be in the tray. Prove it overnight so that we get lots of lovely little bubbles in there. Rosemary, olive oil, salt. So yeah, what we're looking for is lovely airy dough in a perfect square. Listen, okay, let's not mess around. If you're making this dough, you need a stand mixer. I've asked KitchenAid time and time again. I at them, you know, I'm atting them on Instagram and they're not listening. Use your ears. So I'm gonna widen the field now. Smeg. Kenwood. Phillips? No, Phillips don't do it. Dualit? Dua Lipa? I'm trying to mix this dough with a wooden spoon. It's a very wet dough, okay? It's a very, very wet, moist dough. I'm trying to do it with a wooden spoon. It's a nightmare. We're going to get onto some focaccia. It's going to be beautiful. Let's get to it. So we're back to bread, and our ingredients are pretty straightforward. We're going to go with 400 grams of strong bread flour, 100 grams of wholemeal flour, 15 grams of salt, 30 millilitres of good quality olive oil, 250 millilitres of warm water, and a 7 gram packet of yeast. We'll kick things off like we always do. Packet of yeast into the warm water, and get your tiny whisk on that bad boy. Leave it to one side and let it do its thing. I want it blooming, like a Bulbasaur evolving into an Ivysaur. Quite niche, isn't it? Into a big plastic bowl goes our 2 types of flour. Give them a little mix together with your wooden spoon. I want the wholemeal as evenly spread through the flour as possible. I want some bite. I want it given some bite, baby. After a few minutes of the yeast blooming, like an Ivysaur evolving into a Venusaur, niche again, we're going to add our yeasty mixture to the flour and start to mix it with the wooden spoon. Again, if you've got a stand mixer, get it in there, get the dough hook on and you're laughing, but no laughing here. You want to mix it up for about 4 to 5 minutes until everything's come together. You don't want the dough to be too dry, you want it soft and malleable. A little bit like our sourdough in the first episode of Amused Bouche. Links up above, I would have thought. Add a little more water if you think the dough is too dry. After about 5 minutes of mixing, basically when you can feel your arm muscles starting to tighten, we're going to add the salt. I like to add half, then give it a little mix, and then add the rest, but you know, if you want to add it all at once, do it. You freak. Again, mix this through, and after a few minutes we can add our olive oil. The olive oil is the key to the focaccia. You want it to run through the dough and give it a nice nutty flavour. So make sure you're using good quality extra virgin olive oil. You'll taste the difference. Once you've mixed it through, we're going to turn it out onto a floured surface and we're going to bring back that old technique again from video 1, the slap and fold. Slap the dough down onto the surface and fold the other half that's still in your hands back over it. Pick it up from the sides, slap it down again. Turn it round and slap it down again. Lot of slapping. Slap it about. You know, I've seen more slaps than Albert Square. Bloody hell, EastEnders gag. Don't even watch it, you know, but that's the sort of range I've got comically. Now time to bring out a proving vessel. I've gone for this rectangular glass dish. Oil it up liberally and slap your dough in the middle. Move it around a little, but don't worry too much. Once it proves, it'll grow to the shape of its container. Oil up some cling film for the top, and then that can go in the fridge to prove overnight. It's the next day, and as you can see, our dough's been slowly growing. So once it's come up to room temperature, we can oil up a rectangular baking tray. Again, you know, lots of oil. No apologies from me either. Transfer the dough from your proving vessel into the cooking vessel. I'll put the first proving vessel into the drawer above the oven, and I think it started to cook it, to be honest, which is why it's sticking to the bottom. But, you know, don't put it near the oven. That's the lesson I think we've learned here, and it will release nice and easy. Oil up another baking tray and put it over the top. Leave it for about an hour to do its final prove. shaping itself up to the tin. Now, my favourite bit. We've got lots of lovely air bubbles in there, and we want to be gentle, but we also want to press our fingers into the dough and create lots of little dimples. Pools almost. And what's going in those pools? You guessed it, more olive oil. Once you've waterboarded your dough with the oil, you can add the 2 essentials that make any focaccia glorious. Chop up a handful of rosemary, sprinkle it across the top. If you've got a larger sprig like this, use it like a mop of sorts, painting the other pieces of rosemary with the oil. Then to finish off, a decent sprinkle of flaky sea salt. This bad boy goes into the oven for about 25 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. I had it in there for 30 minutes and I messed it up. Okay, so go for 25 minutes. Let it cool in the tray slightly. You might need to release it from the sides like this and then turn it out onto a cooling rack. As I said, and I'll be saying again in a minute, I'm sure, I let it go over slightly, but it's still such a glorious, rich, satisfying Moorish bread. So dip it in some more oil and enjoy. There we have it, there's some focaccia for you. We all know what the situation is with this channel, is I'm going to post it whether it goes well or not. I'm not massively happy with this. It isn't aerated enough, like there's some good bubbles in it, but it's like, I want my focaccia really bubbly and light. Also I put it in too long. I want it to almost be brown, like nutty brown, but you know, also be quite blonde still in places. This is too dark. Oh wow, yeah, good. The outside is very crunchy. It really got what it went in for on the outsides. It's obviously a bread that's very deep in flavour. You've got the flaky salt on top, which is really, really beautiful, but also that rosemary, which travels through the bread as you're cooking it into it. But let's face it, the overpowering element here is olive oil, and you can taste it all the way through. It's rich, it's deep, it's nutty, it's good for just sitting and snacking on. I'm going to dip it in some more oil now. I'm going to dip it in more oil, maybe some balsamic vinegar, maybe if I feel like it. Please like the video, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I shall see you next time. Let's go back to something sweet, probably. As I've said before, and I don't learn from my own lessons. The sweet stuff we seem to be able to do. The savoury and bread, no, we can't do it. See you next time.
Bye.